everybody. Welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. So we're watching a really boring film from the 70s where almost nothing happens for the first hour. So who do you think picked this one, guys? So Brian, I kind of already know the reason why you picked this. I'm going to lean into Gremlins 2. But how about you tell us why you picked Octaman?
So yeah, no, we saw Gremlins 2, and this was a scene from it. So I picked it, and like, dude, you're fucking stupid. I just have to say it. Like you, I almost feel like you're putting on a facade for this show because you love cheesy sci. This is a 1950s sci-fi movie made in the 70s.
Oh, this is 100% the entire plot line of Creature from the Black Lagoon, beat by beat.
Do you guys know why?
Why?
It was because it was written and directed by the guy who wrote Creature from the Black Lagoon.
100% makes sense because it is honestly like midway through the movie. I'm like, this is just Creature from the Black Lagoon.
But it's still like, all right, if they could, I was thinking the whole time, like, man, if they could, like, you know, have some sort of robotics in the dead arms.
Oh my god, you know? that's the best part of the whole fucking movie.
And articulate his mouth, like that's a cool monster.
No, the mouth being so stationary and just like the whole movie actually adds a great deal of fun to it.
I'm agreeing with Scott. I think the highlights of the movie are how shoddy everything about that costume is. Like, there's this scene, probably my favorite scene is that there's this weird flashback of the Octaman attacking somebody, and he just like dramatically swings his tentacle and slaps the guy in the face, and then it's this close-up of like him missing pieces of flesh.
Yeah.
And then it just cuts to him. Yeah, but then it cuts to him on a hill, like giving like a victory yell, but like the guy's in this awkward 8-arm suit, so he's just like flailing around like Kermit when he introduces the musical guest that week.
You know, me and Jay's favorite scene is when he knocks over the table for no reason, like a pissed off teenager.
Yeah, dude, this movie actually, okay, so I was so mad at you for picking this, but then I was like, damn it, I'm falling in love.
It's fun.
It is so slow and dumb, but it is really a crowd pleaser.
So this might be one of the few times where having the DVD instead of watching it on streaming was detrimental, because I sent both of Scott and Brian a video, and I even posted it on my Instagram, but that'll be long gone by the time this episode comes out, that the audio sync for the first 5 minutes of this movie was like a minute off.
Yeah. So what's crazy is this movie was 1971.
Mm-hmm.
It was overall like a shitty budget movie. This has to be one of the best YouTube qualities Scott has ever put for this show.
Yeah, it's because no one cares. They're like, they care more about the rip than the people that own it.
Yeah, so like the audio was all muddy for mine. The picture was like all muddy. I was like, I can barely see a fucking thing. So I think that may have not helped my viewing for show. But I will say that technically this movie was profitable, guys.
What do you mean?
How much did it cost to make?
So it cost $250,000 to make.
Okay.
And its worldwide gross was $280,000. So it made $30,000 extra dollars.
Listen, I could use $30,000.
Yeah, no, I ain't shitting on $30,000, but yeah, it was. I mean, I don't know if that's even really considered a hit, but it was a hit. I will tell you, we're talking about the Octaman, but my first love in this movie is just the shitty octopus puppet crawling back into the water.
I love that shit. It's amazing.
Just being drug on a fish wire. It was so fun.
It's so bad. It just wiggles its way down to the water.
But like this movie could have been bad, like to me. Like if it was, we don't care, we're making a bad movie. But I felt such an endearing side to this movie. Like people were taking it seriously. Maybe not the director and maybe not the writers.
So I think that the director took it the most seriously.
Yeah, I think Rick Baker was just like,
this was Rick Baker's first film. I think that he was like, I think I know how to use latex. And it's so great because the guy that did the fucking transformation in American Werewolf in London started with this.
I
Like,
know. Never give up on your dreams.
yeah.
I wonder if though, like, I think that Rick Baker had a dream, and I think they called him up and was like, "Hey, we want to give you a shot, so you're gonna make the Octaman." And he's like, "All right, great." And they're like, "We can give you about $25 and a hot meal. What can you do for us?" And he's like, "Oh." Like,
And that's when he realized what Hollywood was like.
yeah, pretty much. So I will say that there is one part in this movie that I find very unforgivably boring. And again, it could just be that the transfer that I was watching was all types of fucked up. But is there like 10 minutes where people are just crawling through a tunnel in
Yeah.
silence towards the end? Yeah,
Yeah.
I could have done without that.
Yeah.
That was definitely to get this movie to an hour and 10 was
Well, so as much as I enjoyed this watch, I'm under no illusion that it's a bad movie and that it's like kind of brutal to watch if you're used to watching either something that's more fast paced or you're used to watching something like this in a group, which I know you are, but for me, I watch bad movies alone almost exclusively. So the watch of this was fine. I only fast forwarded a little bit when they were crawling through the cave because I was just like over it.
yeah.
Because
It's
like
so
the
long.
shit where the Octaman isn't involved, I really couldn't care less.
Yeah. Although the best part about them crawling through that cave is that it gives us my favorite appearance of the Octaman, which is just exploding out of a trailer.
Yeah.
Which is the clip that's
Which-
used in Gremlins.
Yeah,
too.
that was the
Yeah.
Gremlin scene. It's weird. So I don't know why, but I have this really like extreme love for 60s and early 70s horror. So even if they're boring, just visually, I love them, and I don't know why. It's not nostalgia because growing up, I mean, you were there growing up. It was
Yeah,
really 80s and 90s.
It was 80s,
Horror.
90s, and 50s, like with
Yeah,
Grandpa.
yeah. But like not this era. It's just like so visually pleasing to me. The bright red blood I love. Like if I see blood that almost looks pink, I am enjoying the movie that I'm watching.
Okay, that's not
I
true.
do love that.
That is not true because was it the first movie that you did as a full co-host was
The Plague.
Hospital. Oh no, yeah, fuck you for
Yeah,
that.
Can of Red.
Can of Red in the and you were criticizing it.
That wasn't
Well,
pink though.
He was criticizing that no one questioned what a can of red was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wasn't attacking the blood itself. It was just that it was a can of it.
Yeah, he's like, that's not blood, that's a can of red. And everyone was like, oh, got it. Story checks out. There's the can of red right over there.
If you want to actually listen to that, that's in Hospital Massacre / X-Ray. That's our discussion on that.
Yeah, go. If by now I can say this for sure, but check out hmnpodcast.com. I've been slaving endlessly to make it even more fun to be on, and that includes at the bottom of every episode recommended listens of other episodes that we did in a similar vein, and maybe I'll put Hospital Massacre at the bottom of this one for Can of Red. Movies with cans of red.
We're up to 2, guys.
No, I probably won't do that. But yeah, this movie is kind of slow. But I won't lie that it but you know what? This is one of those movies, and I don't think they ever did it on Mystery Science Theater 3000, but I think for sure they did it as a riff tracks.
Yeah, they did.
And maybe even fairly recently they did it as a riff tracks. And I feel like that might be there's certain movies from that time period, Brian. I think that might be where the nostalgia comes from, is like Mystery Science Theater 3000 was all about these bad 60s and 70s movies.
Yeah, and I felt like there was a point in time, just like when Comedy Central only worried about like 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and then we're like, oh, we'll just throw Mad TV on in every other hour of the day. I feel like that's what the Sci-Fi Channel was with Mystery Science Theater 3000. It was like 16 hours of Mystery Science Theater 3000 every 24 hours.
Except for Thanksgiving when it was the Twilight Zone marathon.
Yeah.
So, that actually explains a lot of why I don't really like Mystery Science Theater.
You got it.
Yeah, I
Perfect.
wasn't
Nailed
about
it.
to redo it. But I think it's because so much of that, people having the nostalgia for it and everything like that. One, I didn't have cable growing up. I had to watch it at my grandparents' house. But two, I feel like I was so inundated with it, like, hey, you're gonna like this thing, that I was just like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not.
See, and I found it the perfect way to find it, which was that like my parents had people over and it was getting late, but we were all like still kind of awake, and it was around Christmas time, and we were just flipping through the channels, and I guess Sci-Fi was playing the Santa Conquers the Martians episode. And my dad was like, "Oh my god, I remember seeing this movie at the drive-in." So we like just were watching it and we were dying because we had never seen anything like it before, and it was like this thing that we found. But I feel
Oh
like
yeah.
it being forced upon you definitely changed it, because it's not, rewatching it, like the jokes aren't that funny. It's very Marx Brothers vaudeville, like yeah da 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 da
Yeah,
da
I
jokes.
won't watch it. I can't. Me and Jay, not to get completely off topic, but me and Jay were flipping through the channels, and Whose Line Is It Anyway was on, and I was like, oh man, I love this show growing up. I don't think my face could have been straighter watching that show. And we turned it off like within 10 minutes. We're like, this is painfully unfunny. And we used to be like, Whose Line Is It Anyway is on. Everyone
Yeah,
focus on
suckle
the
up around
TV.
the television. It's
Yeah.
time. Like,
I was going to say,
but
put your phones down, but we didn't have them back then.
yeah, hang up the phone, Brian. No, but it's funny, the stuff that actually does carry through, and then there's the stuff that's just like, it's probably better left just in nostalgia. And like, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that I still will watch some episodes of Mystery Science Theater 3000 and get a chuckle out of it, but it's definitely like grandpop humor. Like the
Mhm.
whole show is grandpop humor, which I personally love. But I get why people who are just watching it because everyone's told them it's great is like, what the fuck is this? Because it is, again, grandpop humor.
Yeah.
Anyway, Octaman.
Well, I have can we talk about two things? One, so we were talking about how Octaman, after he defeats someone, he like flails his two arms around.
Yeah.
And all I could see when he was doing that was in Toxic Avenger.
That's exactly what I was thinking of, the Toxic Avenger victory pump.
Yep. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's all I could think about this whole movie. I hope that wasn't anybody's double feature, because that's, I guess you could still do it, but you sound like a schmuck.
There's still the other options.
Yeah, I got a couple. Don't
Yeah.
you worry.
I was thinking
got-
Toxic Avenger 2, 3, and Citizen Talking.
Calm down, James Gunn.
The one note that I have is that they captured the Octaman in one of the most unimpressive fire circles I've
Oh my
ever seen in my life. Like, in any other movie, those flames would be like up to your head, and they're like at most up to your ankle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, no. The Octaman's all like freaking out because there's a fire circle that he could easily just hop over.
Yeah, someone dropped a match.
What shall I do?
I was getting ready to criticize it for not having enough limbs, because I'm like, this thing's only got 6 limbs, and then I just happened to notice in that scene the 2 taped to the back of his legs.
Yeah. Oh, I love how and I don't know if it's a joke or not, but there's a part where it just shows the Octaman's feet as he's walking, and I'm like, it's just his shoes. They just did a really shitty job on this guy's boots, and then they're just having him walk through the muck, and I'm thinking, man.
The whole costume does not blend well. You can just tell where every piece is put together.
Yeah.
From like the legs going straight through the hips.
I mean, at certain points you can tell where Rick Baker ran out of paint and had to buy a new can. This movie was perfect for like, so I usually will do a giant like kill montage that I play at Halloween parties. Haven't been able to do it this year, so instead I built a YouTube playlist, and like clips from Octaman are perfect to just scatter into that playlist because it's, you just need like maybe 2 minutes and people are like, what the fuck is on this screen right now?
Yeah.
It is something special.
Oh, and there's one thing that we haven't gotten a chance to talk about yet, and it's the fact that apparently octopi have insect eyes. Like,
Yeah.
I love the way that it looks when they're like showing what the Octaman sees.
Oh yeah, it's just the fly. It's
Yeah.
it's literally just the Vincent Price fly effect.
Oh man, it's so shoddy, and I love it.
But this would I'm giving him shit because he's my brother and because he failed to watch a few other things.
A few.
But one other thing.
Okay. All right. Good. I got nervous.
But this is a little bit higher on the spectrum of quality picks.
Yeah, no, I'm bad at picking movies. I know that. And that's why
Yeah,
I got so ready to defend this one, because this was like, I mean, we had The Plague, we had Killjoy. Like, I did those. Those
we
were
got
me.
we got something else coming up that I'm still giving you the chance to swap that out for literally anything else.
So for the listener, Brian usually watches what we were about to talk about directly before we talk about it. He has no ability to plan, and so I, on the other hand, usually will watch things weeks in advance and take my notes, and then I just use notes to keep my mind on what I was thinking while I was watching it. I think that I am going to do what Brian normally does with that and just procrastinate until the very last second. So just in the vain hope that he will change his mind.
And look, I've just said this before. Like, there's a lot of movies that he comes in hot with defending, but he won't pick them to put his money where his mouth is because would rather just be like, I don't know, I saw 30 seconds of Octaman. Let's give that a shot. But that is Octaman. Do you guys have your double features for this bad boy?
Oh, hell yes.
Okay, let's hear it, Scott.
No, it's Brian.
Oh, Brian. Sorry, Brian. Let's hear it, Brian.
I would pair this with the Day of the Triffids.
All right.
That would be a rough watch for me. Ooh.
That was the first time I've utilized a poster in my room to pick my double feature. Peter Griffin.
Yeah,
All right, Scott, you go, because there ain't no way you're taking mine.
I'm going to do Return of the Swamp Thing.
Okay. Ooh, that's on Prime for free. I was thinking about watching it, but I haven't seen Swamp Thing, so I don't know.
Oh, you're not missing anything by watching Swamp Thing. It's a Wes Craven film, and it's pretty stupid in my opinion. But Return of the Swamp Thing really, it's
been an almost pick for you multiple times.
It's still probably in my top 10, like, or my hot list, on Trello. But yeah. I don't know. I feel like it might be a little too goofy for. Well, that's ridiculous to even say.
What are you talking about?
I don't know, man.
I just watched Octaman.
Yeah, but that wasn't my choice. That was Brian's.
So, Brian, what he's saying is steal his pick of Return to Swamp Thing.
Yeah, maybe
Return to Swamp Thing?
Yes.
We got to go back to him.
All right,
Baby, I never left.
So my double feature is that I sat through a 75-minute long movie that felt like 2 hours. So now it's time to sit through a 3-hour movie that feels like 5 hours. And that's going to be the made-for-TV movie The Beast, based on the Peter Benchley book, starring Craig T. Nelson, about a giant killer squid that reenacts the entire plot line of Jaws.
Oh, I think we had that on cassette. Record it.
Oh, we certainly do. And I also have the double disc DVD that came out of it as well.
Why?
Because, Scott, nostalgia has way too much control over my decisions sometimes.
Yeah. So, neither of you guys do drugs anymore. And Matt has probably never touched anything harder than fucking,
NyQuil.
aspirin in his NyQuil. No, NyQuil's only, that's too scary for Matt.
No, I've taken NyQuil before. I'm a big boy.
But it's because Matt has an addictive personality, just like Brian. It's a Kelly problem, and the Matt's way of dealing with it is by buying DVDs. It's his drug of
100%.
choice.
Oh, it's my drug of choice, and it has been for a long time, and they're going to kill me in my sleep one of these days. But it'll be worth it. They'll say that I died how I lived, buried under
Watching
DVDs.
shitty fucking movies.
He was killed by his box set of the Carnosaur films.
Okay, now that sounds like the way that I would go.
All right, so what is something that you watched that you want to talk about? Scott, I'm going to ask you to go first because I know Brian and I both watched the same thing, so I want to be able to bounce off of each other a little bit.
Sure. Well, I watched The Tingler in an actual theater.
Ooh, did it have the shocky seats?
Sadly, no. I got to introduce it too, which was really fun.
Shit!
It's like an art house theater that I love called the Nightlight here in Akron. And
yeah, you've said that you wanted us to do a live show there one of these days.
Yeah, well, probably 2020 if you're free sometime in October to come out and visit. I wouldn't ask Brian to because Brian hates us, but
True.
We could totally host a horror movie night panel and watch party there because they're great. But anyway, I got to introduce the film and it was sold out, which was amazing to me. That I think that it's a 50-seat theater. It's not huge, but there were 50 people in Akron that wanted to come out on a Friday night in October and see The Tingler, and that just made me very happy. And so it's so cool to see it on the big screen because it's just one of those movies that in the back of your head you never think, oh, I'm gonna get to see like a 4K restoration on a big screen.
Yeah, it's just like I'm just gonna casually watch The Tingler today. So I think that that's really dope for starters. But I watched the third season of Big Mouth, and it was really fucking good. I really like that show.
Can you explain to me what that show is? Because I know that you two love it.
It is Pen 15 as a cartoon, virtually, but instead of focusing on like women going through puberty, it is literally every kid.
Did you say 13?
Pen 15.
Oh, Pen 15.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that, but more like more ridiculous. Yeah, like more ridiculous. It really plays into it feels so much like a 90s cartoon where like every thing can talk, like bugs can talk, pillows can talk, like it's very insane. But it's
the
like
best way to describe it is that I think it's one of the most genuine depictions of going through puberty I've ever seen, especially from like a male perspective, because the way that it's designed is that when you hit puberty, you're assigned a hormone monster, and the hormone monster basically speaks in like they'll just be like random scenes where they'll be sitting there in bed and all of a sudden the hormone monster will just be like, yo, you got to go jerk it right now. And it's just like that representation of like that insane like sexual craving that kicks in as soon as you hit puberty. But no, it's really fucking funny. There was like one or two episodes that I felt like didn't really need to be there. The episode about Duke Ellington, particularly.
Oh, I thought it was so funny.
It was funny, but like for a serialized show, it really does just take a complete pause from everything that was happening storyline wise.
The Florida episode was absolutely perfect.
The Florida episode is amazing.
Check it out, Scott. I don't want us to ruin it. You should check it out. It's really dumb, but you'll like it. It's almost like it's almost like South Park, but versus puberty, I guess I would say. Like, how South Park will just have a ridiculous episode and it makes no sense. And at the end, it was like, holy shit! As insane as that was extremely relatable. That's how Big Mouth is.
Yeah. I will say that I've talked to a few people who like the first like 1 or 2 episodes, they were just like, I can't get into this. This is just kind of like filthy for the sake of being filthy. But as you keep watching it, you're like, no, actually, this is really doing a great job of summing up exactly what it's like to be a 13-year-old boy going through puberty for the first time.
Yeah. And
Um,
then the dads are the funniest. And the
the
more you
dad-
watch, the more airtime they get.
Definitely worth checking out. Brian, do you have something else that you want to call out, or was you just going to use Big Mouth as well?
No, I was going to use Toy Story 4. I watched Toy
Oh,
Story 4, and I can't pitch it enough for one reason why anyone who like has the same sense of humor we do should watch it. Is there is a new character introduced, and his name is Forky, and he is voiced by the guy who plays Buster Bluth, and the guy just chose to be Buster Bluth this entire character. So it's watching Buster as a toy, and it is so fucking good. It's so good.
Oh yeah, he steals the show. He's
Yeah.
getting his own show on Disney Plus.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be like a 5-minute show called Ask Forky, where every day he has a different thing that confuses him in Bonnie's bedroom, and the toys have to try to explain it to him.
There's a bird, Mother. It walked on my pillow.
Oh, Buster. Well, if you want more of this hilarity, I gotta tell you guys, you should just walk on down to the patreon.com/HMN podcast, where there will be some type of bonus episode that is like a companion piece to this one. I don't know what it will be. I have written down Killer Animal Talk, but I think we already did that, so I don't know. Favorite octopuses. Check it out. Iconic octopi will be the bonus episode to Octaman. But no, seriously, thank you guys always for listening, and we will be back with another episode next week.
Boom.
I can't do the finger guns. I lost the skill to do the voice. Also, while this is still recording, big shout out to our listener, Tom, who, when I wrote a self-deprecating thing about being the least favorite host, he responded, "You're tied with Scott as my favorite." So fuck you, Brian.
Tom, what does he know?
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.